The city was just waking up, sunlight bouncing off the towering glass windows of Kingsley Enterprises, a real estate titan nestled in the heart of downtown. Men in tailored suits clicked past in polished shoes, lattes in hand, speaking into wireless earpieces about market swings and million-dollar deals. The building itself exuded power, sleek, clean lines, tinted windows, and a front desk that looked more like a luxury hotel than a workplace. Then came the sound of a motorbike. Its low rumble broke the polished rhythm of the morning. A black Yamaha pulled up near the grand entrance. Off stepped a young black man in a hoodie, dark jeans, and a weathered backpack slung over one shoulder. His sneakers were worn, his expression unreadable. To most, he looked like a delivery guy, a temp, maybe someone lost. But he wasn't. This was Jordan Carter, the firstborn son of Robert Kingsley, the billionaire founder of Kingsley Enterprises. Jordan was the hidden heir to the empire, the future CEO. And yet, today, he wasn't stepping into this world to claim his throne. He was stepping in as a janitor. For years, Jordan had lived abroad, away from the company spotlight. Raised by his late mother, a brilliant black woman whose strength shaped his character, Jordan had learned the value of humility, discipline, and purpose. After she passed, he pursued degrees, launched small ventures, and quietly built his own success. But recently, troubling whispers reached his ears. Racism in upper management, discrimination against minority staff, unfair promotions, and an atmosphere of quiet, unchecked elitism. His father, Robert Kingsley, remarried and now semi-retired, had grown distant from the day-to-day operations. And it showed. Jordan had to see it for himself. He adjusted the strap on his backpack and pushed open the door. Immediately, eyes turned. Two receptionists behind a marble front desk froze mid-conversation. A few suits near the elevators paused to glance, one of them nudging the other as if to say, "What's he doing here?" And then came Kevin. Kevin Matthews was one of the senior managers. Stocky build, slicked back hair, and an ego that filled any room before he even entered it. He embodied the image of corporate excellence, or at least he thought he did. To him, appearance was everything, and Jordan didn't fit the picture. As Jordan approached, Kevin stepped forward with a condescending smirk. Hey, deliveries go around back," Kevin said, blocking his path. Jordan stopped. He met Kevin's gaze with a calm, unreadable look. There it is, Jordan thought. The first red flag. He could have revealed his identity right then. He could have said, "I'm your boss's son. I'm about to run this company." But that wasn't the mission. Instead, he smiled. "Actually," Jordan said, "I'm not here for a delivery. I was wondering if you had any job openings. I'm in need of work." Kevin scoffed. "Here?" He scanned Jordan from top to bottom like he was dirt on the carpet. "Yeah," Jordan replied evenly. "Any job. I'm willing to start anywhere." Kevin turned, chuckling. "Hey," he called to the receptionist, "see if we've got anything for him." "Anything at all." The receptionist tapped away with a smirk. After a few seconds, she looked up. "We have one opening," she said, her voice laced with sarcasm. "Janitorial team's down a person." Kevin grinned like it was the punchline to a cruel joke. Well, he said. "How about that? You said you wanted a shot, right?" Jordan tilted his head as if thinking it over. The office had gone quiet, several employees now openly watching. He could feel their smirks, their amusement, their disbelief. "I'll take it," Jordan said. Kevin blinked. "What?" "I'll take the janitor job." Kevin and the others laughed. It was the kind of laugh that stings, low, dismissive, mocking. But Jordan didn't flinch. He just smiled, because they had no idea who he really was. They had just handed the future CEO a front-row seat to their prejudice. Jordan Carter stood in the supply room, tying the drawstring on his fresh navy blue janitor uniform. A mop, bucket, and cleaning supplies waited beside him, tools he hadn't touched in years. But today, they would be his disguise. He looked in the mirror. Gone was the calm, confident young entrepreneur. In his place stood a man they believed had no power, no purpose, just another face in the background. And that was exactly what he wanted them to think. The first hour passed slowly. Jordan cleaned baseboards, wiped down glass panels, and emptied trash bins, all while employees passed him without a second glance. In their eyes, he was invisible, all except for Amanda Whitmore. She stormed down the hallway like she owned the place, tall, blonde, and sharp-tongued. Amanda had been a supervisor at Kingsley Enterprises for years, and it showed in the way she barked orders like a drill sergeant on Wall Street. "Hey," she snapped, pointing at Jordan with a manicured finger. "What do you think you're doing?" Jordan glanced up from the hallway he was mopping. "Just cleaning," Amanda scoffed. "Don't get smart with me. I don't like your kind thinking you can walk around here acting like you matter." "Your kind." The words hung in the air. Jordan said nothing. His face was unreadable, but inside his pulse tightened. He had come here to witness bias. Amanda had just gifted him a front row seat, and she wasn't done. Every time Jordan cleaned something, Amanda found a flaw. If he wiped a window, she claimed it had streaks. If he mopped a floor, she pointed out a smudge. When he took out the trash, she accused him of moving too slowly, but she never corrected him in private. No, Amanda made sure her voice carried, loud enough for the whole office to hear. "Are you stupid?" she snapped one afternoon as Jordan finished up the executive lounge. "Did you clean this like a 5-year-old? Or is this the best your kind can do?" Laughter echoed from a few cubicles nearby. Jordan calmly set the rag down and turned to face her. "Did I do something wrong?" Amanda rolled her eyes dramatically, turning to the employees who were already watching with thinly veiled amusement. "Did you do something wrong?" she mimicked mockingly. "How about mopping like you've got 2 left hands?" Again, they laughed. Jordan looked at every single face. He didn't flinch, didn't break, because he wasn't here for their approval. He was here to see who they really were. And Amanda wasn't the only one showing her true colors. Kevin Matthews, the same smug manager who had dismissed Jordan at the door, had made it his personal mission to degrade him. He dropped paper towels in hallways Jordan just cleaned, spilled coffee intentionally, and barked orders to clean it up. He even called Jordan boy in front of staff, every time. And the others? Some laughed, some looked away, some whispered when they thought he couldn't hear. But a few, just a few, started watching him differently. They noticed how he walked with quiet confidence, how he listened more than he spoke, how he carried himself not like a man who had failed, but like one who was waiting for something. Still, the abuse escalated. One morning, Jordan had just finished cleaning the executive conference room. The table gleamed, the chairs aligned perfectly, the glass spotless. That's when Amanda marched in, high heels clacking like gunfire. She stopped at the head of the table, narrowed her eyes, and sneered. "This is filthy. Are you blind?" Jordan, standing calmly with a cloth in his hand, looked at the table. "I just cleaned it," he said. Amanda's lip curled. Without warning, she picked up a full cup of coffee from the counter and flung it across the table. The dark liquid splashed across the polished glass, dripping onto the carpet. Gasps echoed from the hallway. Amanda crossed her arms. "Now clean it again." Silence. A heavy, loaded silence. Jordan inhaled slowly. Then he smiled. Because now it was time. Time to show them exactly who they had underestimated. The moment Amanda hurled the coffee across the conference table, the office froze. Employees who had been walking by stopped mid-stride. Conversations ceased. Even the sound of keyboards clicking came to a halt. Every eye turned to Jordan, standing still, silent, staring at the dripping mess across the table he had just polished to perfection. Amanda stood tall, arms crossed, eyes daring him to defy her. Jordan looked at her, not with fear, not with anger, but with something else. A calm, knowing gaze. The kind of look that didn't flinch in the face of cruelty. The kind of look that said, "You've just made a mistake you can't take back." He didn't speak. Not yet. Because the real show was about to begin. What Amanda didn't know, what Kevin didn't know, what the entire floor of Kingsley Enterprises didn't know, was that Jordan Carter hadn't come here to clean floors. He had come to clean house. And right on cue, the receptionist's phone rang. She picked it up quickly. Too quickly. Her polished, corporate smile froze as the voice on the other end spoke. Her face dropped. She sat up straighter, her eyes darting toward Amanda and Kevin, then toward the hallway. She stood up. "Yes, sir, of course," she stammered into the phone. Kevin, hearing the commotion, approached the desk. "What is it?" The receptionist swallowed hard. "Robert Kingsley is on his way up." The air shifted. Robert Kingsley, the founder of the company, the billionaire, the legend behind Kingsley Enterprises. No one had seen him in weeks, maybe months. The man whose decisions shaped the fate of everyone in that building. Kevin straightened his blazer. "Today's the day," he whispered, already rehearsing his pitch. Amanda ran a hand through her hair, smoothing her blouse. Both of them imagined the possibilities. A handshake, a thank you, maybe even a promotion. Not a single one of them thought about Jordan. To them, the janitor didn't exist. But then, the elevator dinged, and everything changed. The crowd instinctively stood straighter, phones went away, small talk stopped. Robert Kingsley stepped out, flanked by assistants and security. Silver hair, sharp eyes, tailored suit. He looked like authority incarnate. The room hushed as he made his way to the center of the floor. He scanned the space, pausing in the very spot where Amanda had thrown coffee minutes earlier. With a slow, commanding breath, he turned to address the employees. "Ladies and gentlemen," Robert began, his voice carrying the weight of a man who built empires. "Today is a significant day." Heads tilted, murmurs passed through the office. "For decades, I've worked to build this company into something meaningful, something enduring, a place of success and integrity." A few eyes dropped to the floor at that word. "And today, today," Robert continued, "I'm proud to announce that my firstborn son has officially joined Kingsley Enterprises and is here in this building." Gasps. Kevin's mind raced. His son? People looked around. Who? "I thought he had a kid with his second wife," someone whispered. Kevin scanned the crowd, eyes darting from one young executive to another. Maybe that guy from marketing, or the new hire in finance. He turned to Amanda with a smirk, but then Robert spoke again. "My son is already among you," he said, his voice stronger now. "Jordan, come forward." Time stopped. Necks craned, eyes searched, and then they saw him, still in his janitor uniform, still holding the same mop, still standing exactly where Amanda had humiliated him minutes earlier. Jordan. Every head swiveled. Kevin's smirk collapsed. Amanda's eyes bulged. Her face went pale. Because the man they had dismissed, insulted, and mocked was now their new CEO. The office was dead silent. Jordan Carter, the janitor they had laughed at, ignored, and belittled, was walking toward the center of the room. Slowly, deliberately, holding his mop like a royal scepter, not a tool of servitude. Kevin Matthews looked like he'd seen a ghost. His mouth moved, but no sound came out. Amanda Whitmore stumbled back a step, her hand flying to her chest as if trying to keep her heart from bursting. Whispers broke out like wildfire. "That's him? He's the CEO? But he was just..." Jordan stopped in front of his father. Robert Kingsley, a proud glint in his eyes, placed a steady hand on his son's shoulder. "My name is Jordan Carter Kingsley," Jordan said, turning to face the room. His voice was steady, smooth, but carried the weight of authority. "I am the firstborn son of Robert Kingsley, and as of today, I am your new CEO." The words hit the office like a thunderclap. A few employees gasped. Someone dropped their coffee. One woman let out a shocked whisper, "Oh my God." Jordan stood tall, still in his janitor's uniform, still holding his mop. But now the power in the room had shifted. Kevin looked like he might collapse. Amanda looked like she wanted to disappear into the carpet. Jordan took a few slow steps forward, his eyes scanning the crowd, locking eyes with every person who had laughed at him, every person who had stayed silent while he was mocked. He let the silence stretch. "I've worked in this building for the past few days," Jordan said. "Not as a CEO, not as a guest, but as a janitor." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. "I wanted to see how my company, the one my father built, treated people who weren't wearing $1,000 suits. I wanted to see how you treated the people you thought couldn't help you, couldn't hurt you." Jordan's eyes landed on Kevin. Kevin flinched. "And what I saw," Jordan continued, his voice lowering, "was disgusting." Now it was Amanda's turn to tremble. "Kevin Matthews," Jordan said, stepping closer, "you mocked me, laughed in my face, threw trash on the ground and demanded I clean it, called me boy in front of your peers." Kevin opened his mouth, his voice shaky. "Sir, Jordan raised a hand. Kevin's mouth shut instantly. "You did all of that," Jordan said coldly, "because you thought I was beneath you, because of how I looked, because of the color of my skin, because of the uniform I wore." Then Jordan turned to Amanda. And you, he said, his voice dropping into a razor-sharp calm, you humiliated me, loudly, publicly. You threw coffee across a clean table just to make a point. You disrespected me not because I failed at my job, but because you never expected someone like me to hold power. Amanda swallowed hard, her face now completely drained of color. Sir, I didn't know. That, Jordan said, was the whole point. He turned back to the room. How many of you laughed when I was insulted? How many stayed silent while I was degraded? How many of you decided I was unworthy before I said a single word? Nobody answered. Nobody could. Then Jordan turned to Robert, who had watched the entire confrontation silently, the father now seeing the reality of what his company had become. What do you think should be done, Jordan? Robert asked softly. Jordan didn't hesitate. Fire them. The words hung in the air like a gavel strike. Robert gave a solemn nod. Kevin Matthews, he said firmly, you are hereby terminated from Kingsley Enterprises, effective immediately. Kevin's knees buckled. No, please, Mr. Kingsley, I didn't know. Robert ignored him. Amanda Whitmore, Robert continued. You are also terminated, effective immediately. Amanda let out a short, strangled cry. Sir, please, Jordan raised his hand. Silence returned. Just like that, the two loudest voices in the office had nothing left to say. And yet, Jordan wasn't finished. As Amanda's pleas fell into silence and Kevin stood frozen in shock, Jordan turned to face the rest of the office. The same people who had watched him clean their messes, who had ignored him in elevators, who had walked past him without a second glance. Now they couldn't look away. Now he was the one holding the power. But he didn't gloat, he didn't smirk, because this moment wasn't about revenge, it was about truth. For the past several days, Jordan began, I have been watching, listening, learning. He walked slowly through the center of the floor, his mop now resting against the wall behind him. His voice echoed through the marble atrium. I've been called names, given orders. I've been mocked, ignored, and insulted by people who had no idea who I was, all because they assumed someone like me didn't belong in a place like this. He stopped in front of the glass wall Amanda had once demanded he clean twice. This isn't just about me, he continued. It's about a culture, a mindset, a pattern of behavior that's gone unchecked in this company for far too long. He turned to face the crowd, locking eyes with a young woman standing quietly near the front desk. Linda, one of the few who hadn't laughed. The one who had once offered him a bottle of water during his shift and whispered, I'm sorry, when Amanda yelled at him. Jordan nodded slightly. He hadn't forgotten her kindness. Then he raised his voice, speaking to everyone. This company, my company, will no longer be run by fear, by arrogance, or by the assumption that respect must be earned only by the people who look the part. Gasps broke out across the office. One bold employee in the back stepped forward. Does that mean there'll be changes? Jordan smiled. Not changes, he said, a transformation. He turned to his father. Effective immediately, Kingsley Enterprises will implement a new corporate ethics initiative, anti-discrimination training, anonymous feedback systems, diversity accountability audits. No one in this building will ever again be judged by the color of their skin, the clothes they wear, or the job title they hold. The employees stared, stunned. Some nodded, some looked ashamed, and some, the ones who had stayed silent all week, now wished they had spoken up sooner. Jordan took a deep breath, then looked directly at Linda. My first official decision as CEO, he said clearly, is to promote Linda to senior office manager. Linda gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Wait, me? Jordan nodded. You didn't stay silent. You treated me with dignity when no one else would, and that matters more than any resume. Tears welled in her eyes. A few employees began to clap, then more joined. The sound spread slowly, unsure at first, then stronger. For the first time since Jordan stepped into that building, there was real respect in the room. He turned back to the crowd and raised a hand. I don't want this to be just a moment, he said. I want this to be the beginning of a movement, in this building and hopefully far beyond. His eyes swept the room once more. This is your chance, Jordan said, every one of you, to decide who you want to be. Will you be the ones who lift others up, or the ones who stay silent while others fall? Silence followed, but this time it wasn't fear, it was reflection. And then from the back of the room came a voice. "I want to be better," someone said quietly. Another added, "Me too." And just like that, the tension began to melt into something else, something new, something hopeful. Jordan looked at his father. Robert Kingsley's face was unreadable, a mix of pride, guilt, and awe. He stepped forward slowly and extended a hand to his son. They shook hands in front of everyone. A simple gesture, but one that meant everything. A public declaration, a bridge between generations. A signal that the company had just turned the page. Jordan Carter Kingsley, the man they had mocked, underestimated, and disrespected, now stood not only as their CEO, but as their leader. And for the first time, they knew it was exactly what the company needed. Jordan Carter stood tall in the center of Kingsley Enterprises, still in his janitor uniform. The same uniform they'd mocked, the same clothes they assumed marked him as inferior. But now they served as a reminder of humility, of patience, and of power. Real power. Not the kind that boasts or bullies. The kind that sees, waits, and then acts with clarity. He looked out at the rows of employees, many still stunned, others humbled, a few visibly shaken. And then, with his voice steady, Jordan spoke one last time. "There's a word we've forgotten here," he said. "A word that should be the foundation of every company, every relationship, every action." He paused. "Respect." The word echoed through the atrium like thunder. Respect is not optional. It's not reserved for the wealthy or the well-dressed. It is not something that should be handed out based on titles, skin color, or how much someone makes. Respect is human. It's universal, and it's non-negotiable. Heads began to nod slowly across the room. Even those who had laughed earlier were now quiet, eyes downcast. For the past few days, I've walked through these halls, invisible to many of you. I've been treated like I didn't matter, like I didn't belong. And the truth is, I did matter. I do belong. And so does every single person who walks through these doors. Jordan stepped toward the front of the crowd, looking directly at the team leaders, department heads, and senior executives. The ones who had said nothing while Kevin and Amanda ruled the floor like tyrants. "But here's what hurts the most," he said. "It wasn't just the insults. It wasn't just the spilled coffee or the commands to clean it again. It was the silence." He let that word settle. The silence of the people who knew it was wrong, but said nothing. A heavy quiet fell over the room. "I know it can be uncomfortable to speak up," he continued. "I know it's easier to stay in your lane, avoid conflict, pretend it's not your problem. But that's how injustice survives. Not through hatred alone, but through silence." He turned back to his father for a moment. Robert Kingsley's face was solemn, full of pride and remorse. "My father built this company on excellence, but somewhere along the way, excellence started to mean the wrong things. It became about image, not integrity, about numbers, not people." He faced the employees again. "That ends today." A shift happened, not just in the air, but in the atmosphere. People were listening now, really listening. "From this day forward," Jordan said, "this company will operate differently. We will reward people based on merit, not skin tone. We will promote those who lead with empathy, not ego. And we will not tolerate discrimination, harassment, or bullying in any form, from anyone." A few employees exchanged hopeful glances. Others finally raised their heads. "We are rebuilding this company," Jordan declared, "not just to be profitable, but to be just, to be decent, to be the kind of place where everyone feels seen, heard, and valued." He looked around the room once more. "And if that makes anyone here uncomfortable, if you believe that fairness threatens your power, then let me be clear, this may no longer be the place for you." Silence again, and then, slowly, applause. It started with Linda, then the young man from it who had once looked away when Kevin mocked Jordan. Then others joined in, one by one, until the room was filled with the sound of clapping, not forced, not polite, but real, genuine, grateful. Jordan took a breath, letting the sound wash over him. He wasn't wearing a suit. He wasn't giving a sales pitch. He wasn't hiding behind titles or scripts. He was simply being seen, fully, finally, and rightfully, for who he was. Jordan Carter Kingsley, CEO, leader, man. And as he stood there, surrounded by the very people who had once dismissed him, he understood something deeper. This story wasn't just about exposing racism. It was about restoring dignity, about reclaiming humanity, about rewriting what leadership looks like, not through revenge, but through vision. As the applause died down, Jordan turned to Linda again. "You stood up when it mattered," he said quietly. "Never stop doing that." Tears glistened in her eyes. She nodded. He faced the rest of the office one last time. "Now let's get to work." And just like that, the story of a janitor became the legacy of a CEO, one who didn't just clean floors, but cleaned out a broken system.